So I grew up in a Christian home. I had two awesome Christian parents, and their desire was that I would be able to meet Jesus. And so they put me in a Christian school, they put me in church, and so they really just did everything they could to allow that to actually happen. And so I did. I heard the gospel, and I gave my life to Jesus, or so I thought. I definitely invited him in to be my savior, and I didn't understand the lordship piece. And so I continued to just make decisions in my own strength and continue to just ask Jesus in my heart multiple times over my adolescent years. And so fast forward, I'm 14, I'm at a Christian school, and I end up being the water girl for a baseball team and met a boy, and he's a year older than me, and we ended up dating. At 14, being naive, I didn't know what I was looking for. And Matthew 7:16, Jesus says, you'll know them by their fruits. And so I didn't really know any fruit, or I couldn't see any fruit in his life, but I decided that he made me happy. And so we just continued to date all the way through high school into college. And so in college, we definitely started to drift apart. I felt like there were some things that I potentially could have seen as unfaithfulness, but I never had enough proof. And so I decided to stick this out. I had already been with him for 6 years. That year we ended up getting engaged, and that didn't fix everything. I thought that was gonna be really what sealed the deal, and we were gonna come back closer together, and instead I still felt that distance. And unfortunately, I was trying to figure out why, and ended up talking to his friend. And that quickly spiraled, and that emotional relationship went too far. And I found myself in another relationship. And it was uncovered, and I, at that point, had a crossroads. Was I gonna stay in my sin, or was I gonna make a choice to fully invite Jesus in and change my life? And I gave my life fully to the Lord. I told him that I wanted to make decisions that mirrored what his word said. And so it was like this baby crawl of obedience to the Lord that was really difficult, because it was everything opposite of how I was living. So we decided to reconcile. I'm 20, I'm getting married. I'm trying to make this thing work and follow Jesus now. And so those first few years, as rocky as they were of us trying to figure out what we were doing, God blessed us with 2 incredible daughters. The years were kind of going really great until I found out that he was unfaithful. I really felt like this was my fault. I had caused this. All of the decisions that I made previously led to him going outside of the marriage. And so I decided that we were going to keep this our secret. Unfortunately, over the next 12 years of our marriage, his unfaithfulness continued. And I noticed that his response to that change that he wanted to make began to become colder, and his heart hardened, and I didn't get to see much of that change happen. I sought the Lord in a lot of ways, and I knew more than anything that if my relationship was going to end, it needed to have God's peace. Even though well-meaning people were speaking things into my life, I knew that God had to be ultimately the one that released me. After 12 years of marriage, it was 2018, and this was kind of like a last-ditch effort. Unfortunately, unfaithfulness had happened again, and I wasn't sure what we were gonna do. So we were invited to a relationship retreat called JH Outback. It was really just me and Jesus and the person that I was with, my husband, and we were trying to figure out what this weekend really was gonna entail. So I just asked the Lord, there were 3 things. I asked him to reveal what I needed to know, when I needed to know it, to restore anything that needed to be restored, or to release me. But something had to happen that weekend. There had to be a shift in our relationship. And so God allowed me to have revelation, and he allowed there to be some restoration. He gave me hope again to walk this next leg of the race. I decided that I was gonna give this relationship another chance, and so we rededicated our vows, and we decided to just see where this was gonna go. Unfortunately, the unfaithfulness happened again in 2020, and he decided to leave our family. What seemed devastating to us actually began a healing journey for my heart, and allowed me to experience God's peace in a different way. I was able to finally have peace in my home. I wasn't worried about uncovering something else. So in 2020, COVID had taken place, and so a lot of churches were closed, and I was not being fed spiritually at my church. And I began to think through where I was going to attend and where I was going to be spiritually fed, and ended up remembering that I had met Pastor Chris and Colleen at JH out back in 2018. And so I ended up looking up Bow Down, and I started watching and realized that when their doors opened, I was going to go ahead and start attending. And so when they did, I took my family here and we hit the ground running. So God was really faithful in that season, and I was growing and I was thriving, and He was rebuilding my life. Recovery Church downtown West Palm Beach was happening, and I just heard vision casted and was realizing that it was a bridge between the main church and Recovery Church. And I don't really have recovery background, but I knew how to make muffins, and I could come and serve and be a representation of Bow Down for those people and for them to find a home church. So I ended up serving alongside Jeff, the campus lead, and realized after a while that both of us were kind of running the same race. We both had a passion for people and a deep love for God. For any relationship that I'd ever had, I had never really known what I was looking for. And so I went back to that fruit and realized that I didn't want to look for potential fruit or maybe that's fruit or what kind of fruit is that, but I wanted to see mature fruit. I wanted to see fruit that over time was feeding other people, and that fruit was going to give me great peace knowing that that was somebody that I could trust, stepping into a deeper relationship with. And so I could see that in Jeff. On August 11th of 2024, I ended up being able to marry my best friend. And so God was faithful in His promises. He really did bring me a partner for life and gave us the same heartbeat for His people and for Him, and just walking out this next leg of the race with ministry. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when facing trials of many kinds. For the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance complete its work, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. So if you're not sure where God's taking you and you're not sure what your future holds, you can trust God in the trial, in whatever mess you're in, because He's faithful and He's going to get you through it, and He's the one that holds your future.